Hi, I'm here with Rae Lin Delia. Delia, did I pronounce it right? I think I botched it.
Yes.
Okay, that's
No, no.
good.
Yeah.
Okay, it would probably better to refer to you as Ray Ray because that's like your artist name, I guess. So I want to start with your music career, if we may, because you wrote and recorded FIBA's Free on Free anthem, right? And how did that
Yeah.
happen?
So I don't consider myself a musician or an artist. So
Okay.
just to be clear there, music has always been a part of my life as like a fan of music. And honestly, writing songs came from my faith because one day I was praying and I really wanted a way to encourage my team. So I really felt like I believed that I was supposed to write a song to use words as a tool of encouragement to kind of build team chemistry. So I did that the first time, and I was in the second division in Italy, and I had a friend in the music industry who knew a producer, so we got it produced, and it was just kind of like my gift to the team and to the fans to like get us ready for the playoffs. And then I saw that they like loved it. It responded really well, and it did exactly what I wanted it to do, which was create that team chemistry and that team unity. And it was a powerful tool. So that was the first time I had ever experienced doing something like that. So that was in 2017. And in 2019, I was at the FIBA World Cup in Amsterdam. And I was walking around the city, and it's a beautiful environment. There's like the museum, it's very inspirational. And I just remember I was walking around and I was praying. Actually, I think it was the Euro Cup. And I just felt kind of like a similar thing. Like I was supposed to write this song for FIBA as an instrument to teach people what 3x3 was. So if you listen to the song, it's actually kind of like an intro to the sport, to the listener, and to the
Yeah, yeah,
fan.
yeah.
So that's how it initially was kind of birthed.
Yeah, it's nice because you talk about like the pick and rolls, the alley oops, everything is there. That's kind of interesting. Yeah. And why did you decide on hip hop as your means of expression and rapping
Because
in
I'm,
particular? Because
yeah,
we must say that you rap in the song as well.
yeah. Well, particularly, I really love the genre. I grew up listening to it. I still listen to it. I'm really into Christian rap and hip hop, and the idea that you can fit a lot of words into 3 minutes was really intriguing to me because I like to I like to talk, I guess. So it was the format that gave me the most amount of time to express what I wanted to say in a cool, trendy way that was also connected to kind of street ball.
Okay. And
So it fit
yeah.
the brand as well.
hmm And it must be said that even though you're Italian, meaning you play for the Italian national team, and you've been living in Italy since 2010, if I remember correctly, but you were
Yes,
born
yeah,
in Wisconsin, right? And you're from
exactly. So
Wisconsin.
my
So can
native
you tell
tongue
me,
is English.
yeah. So how did you get into hip hop in Wisconsin, and what sort of, because it isn't the most particularly hip hop state, right? On the
Yeah,
map, right?
yeah,
Not many artists. So what did you listen to growing up? Who did you listen to growing up, and how did you get into like Christian rap?
yeah. I was actually I grew up in Racine, Wisconsin, which is a more diverse environment than the environment that I live in now in Wisconsin. And actually, I had a cousin that was like would freestyle rap. So I remember we would go over to my grandma's house for like to eat pasta on Thursdays because we were the kind of traditional Italian family. And he would kind of always like freestyle. And I think that was the first exposure that I had to like the creative part of music. And then, through school, you're listening to what your friends listen to. So like back in the day, I think really like Lil Wayne, Eminem were kind of like the forefront on the hip hop in the hip hop world. Like when I was in like right before high school, like middle school kind of thing. So I got into Christian hip hop because in my when I was in college, I was like around 20, 21, and I kind of had this radical life shift, and I really like ignited my faith really got ignited, and I started to hear about
So
kind of
you're
like
born
Christian.
again? I'm sorry. You're born again.
Yeah, yes,
Okay,
like
kind
I
of.
had a
Yeah.
radical encounter with Jesus
Okay.
when I was 21, and I haven't looked back since. My faith has shifted and has kind of it's kind of a discovery of what I believe every day is a new kind of adventure. But I do consider myself a Christian. I love Jesus. I love people, and I'm just trying to live authentically here on earth the best that I can.
Okay.
So I got into like the 116 clique, which is like Lecrae, Trip Lee, KB, which are some Christian artists that have made great impact in the last 10 years on kind of the hip hop society. So yeah, when I started listening to them, I think something was awakened in me that was like words are powerful, music is powerful, and it can be an instrument for healing and inspiration and for good.
Okay. And you've mentioned a lot of artists that people of the younger generation would consider old school, like Lil Wayne and Eminem, because it must be said that even though you don't look at you were born in 1897,
Yes.
and yes, and so your like your career is one of longevity. It's interesting because like your stats from last season from the Serie A are 11.6 boards and 7 assists, and when you were in high school 19 years ago, you were averaging similar numbers, so 16 points, 6 dimes, and 6 rebounds. Like, how is that possible, and what is your secret to just staying so young?
I think just first of all, I have a young like energy in my family. I have 21 nieces and nephews. My brothers and sisters, I have five brothers and sisters and all their spouses and my parents, and we're just a dynamic group of individuals that genuinely just love to enjoy life and enjoy people. So I think that's definitely a key. My faith is definitely an instrument because I think the how the human experiences suffering is a key to longevity in anything that we do. In the one of the lessons that I've learned is to see the quote unquote loss or the trial or the suffering as an instrument to progress and the potential to reach your destiny. So when you have that kind of outset, I feel like even when you're in hard moments, you're finding strength and you're finding resource to continue and to continue to live and do what you do with passion. And then I'm also very passionate about being prepared. I'm small, so I've always had a knack for wanting to be in great shape just because I know that I'm not going to be able to like use my physicality with my body unless I train it. So I'm also really passionate about taking care of myself and trying to keep the edge of every little way that I can, whether it's nutrition, recovery, working out. Yeah. And also just like sleep, get rest, drink water, and find people that you enjoy and do life with them.
Yeah. And what about the diet? Like in Italy, this must be particularly hard. It's probably like a
No, actually,
carb
it's
heavy
really easy in
diet,
Italy.
no?
It's
Okay.
much
Okay.
harder in America for me
Okay.
because Italy, everything is so clean. So everything you're putting into your body is just like your body's just naturally processing it and giving you what it needs. Like the produce here is just top of the line. So as long as you're paying attention, I really love food. So I love pizza and pasta and to experience all the greatness of all of the Italian things that the country has to offer, but they also like even simple like vegetable plates or their their meats. I enjoy everything and it's just very simple. They use like three ingredients to every plate, and it's just I think it's just pure. So it goes kind of into you, gives you what you need to be able to thrive.
Okay. Okay.
And a gelato is necessary every once in a while.
Of course, of course. But is it possible to have like a protein heavy diet as opposed to a carb heavy diet that's associated with Italy?
Um, I mean, especially when you're in training mode, they
Okay.
provide everything that you need. So, like, And when I'm at home, I really kind of how I eat is I really stay close to grains, vegetables, fruits, and meats, like healthy protein, like fish, and they always have that here. Like even at the training facility, like yes, you can have pasta, but you're eating like either white pasta or red sauce pasta or pasta with vegetables, rices, and then there's always like vegetable and meat options. So you can kind of manage the actually the tough part of nutrition for me is when we hit the road and we go to different countries and you're
Okay.
you're trying to get you're trying to steady your nutrition on the road, which is a little tricky sometimes because you don't really know where you're going to land every 4 hours, what restaurants are going to be there, what are the options going to be. So when I'm home, I try to eat really well. And when I'm in Italy at the training facility, then when I'm on the road, you just kind of, you have to also have, I think, you have to go with the flow. Nothing's going to be perfect. You can't control and micromanage everything. You just got to trust the process and what's kind of offered to you, try to manage it the best that you can.
Okay. Okay. And you've mentioned your height earlier. Were you ever overlooked because of your height, and how did you learn to turn it into one of your strengths? Because watching you play free on free basketball, you don't play like a regular, like small, right? You like
Yeah,
to drive to the basket,
yeah. Well, growing up,
despite.
I used to wrestle
Yeah.
and play football.
Okay.
So I really was, from the time that I was young, I was really like adapted to physical contact. And for me, it was also like a love language because my family, like we grew up playing sports, my brothers, my dad, like we were always kind of like wrestling and playing football in the backyard, baseball. So I was really accustomed to physicality from early on. And I was always drawn to physical contact sports. So that was, even though I'm small, I think I thrive in that kind of environment. And then for me, yes, I was definitely overlooked. I had several people approach me telling me maybe I should maybe like consider doing soccer or like a different sport that fit my stature because they thought I had natural ability as an athlete and I would be able to arrive further like if I chose a sport that it was adapted to my characteristics. But my mindset was like my height was never a disadvantage. My height was there's an advantage to everything and there's a disadvantage to everything. Sometimes if you're tall, you got slow feet. Well, you got
Yeah.
to try to manage that and you got to try to pick your spots on the court and understand where you're at. So when you're short and there's a lot of space on the court, you can really thrive if you understand how to use that space to your ability. And so I think everything you just kind of have to take it with a grain of salt when people have opinions about where you can arrive. But for me, it was definitely motivation. And I've always been an individual that the harder it was and the more people said that I couldn't do it, I wanted to be a part of that. I wanted to find a group of people that believed in the impossible and I wanted to do something special together with them. So
Hmm.
it kind of basketball fit that part of my personality because I was always kind of the shortest one on the court.
Okay. So let's talk a bit about Waterford, Wisconsin. What is there to
Yeah.
do? Because it's not a well-known city, right?
Yeah, it's
So,
very small.
okay.
So I think I kind of come from a unique family. My parents, there were three boys and three girls growing up in my family, and we were very passionate about sport, faith, and family growing up. And my dad had a best friend that they bought kind of some land together. So I kind of, from the time I was 12 all the way till now, I grew up on kind of like this environment where it was a lot of space with like a mini pond and a lot of freedom and adventure. Grew up riding like dirt bikes and four-wheelers and outdoor sports, inviting friends, community. So it's not a big city. So we just created community with whatever we did, whatever that looked like. So my family, I think, naturally just like has a way of building community. So spent a lot of time at my house, just like enjoying people, inviting people, and having adventure, having fun. I remember when I was in high school, my parents cooked pasta dinner for all of our teams, like every week. Like the football team when there was like 70 kids were coming over like once a week to eat pasta and play games. Like, so I think that really developed me and my sense for and the want to build community wherever I would go and really focus on team chemistry with whatever I was doing with it, whether it was sport or, in school projects. So yeah, that's most of what my life looked like when I was little was sports, family, and faith.
Okay. And what do you remember from taking your high school team, the Waterford High School, to the WEIAA Division One championship game? Because
Incredible.
it's incredible because the coaches were like game planning precisely for you because you were the star of the team and that focus. So how did it feel? And again, what do you remember from that apart from it being incredible, as you've said?
I just remember a group of girls that were very tight knit, that genuinely loved to play the game, a leadership that believed in the group no matter what, and also like an underdog chip on our shoulder, and a community that surrounded and supported us with the students and the families around. And when you have like a tight little community like that, they really rally when you win. So I just remember it being like for the town, it was just like an amazing experience. And I remember it being almost like a form of destiny for me because at that point I had no collegiate offers. And that same year, I found a journal from when I was 8 and I wrote in it, like, when they do like little questions, like, what are you
Hmm.
going to do when you grow up? I wrote that I was going to be a Big Ten athlete because I really loved was the University of Wisconsin. And at that time, I didn't have any offers. And I remember I had one offer, and it was in Division II, and I really wanted to sign. And my parents, I told me, do not sign that. We believe that God has something greater for you. And I know it's hard to wait, but just see what happens and see how it plays out. And so then we arrived to the state championship game, and Lisa Stone, the head coach of the University of Wisconsin, was at the game, and after like a week after, she offered me a scholarship on the spot. So it was for me, it was a very special moment of my career.
Okay. Because it's so, was there ever a competition between Wisconsin and UCLA? Because I've read that UCLA
Y-
wasn't interested
Yeah,
in recruiting
yeah,
you.
yeah. It was UCLA recruited me early on, but it
Okay.
wasn't even in my thought process because it was so far from home.
Okay.
So for me, it wasn't an option. But then a smaller D2 school, 45 minutes from my house, was recruiting me, and that's the one that I was going to sign. So yes, UCLA did, like, they started recruiting me, but I kind of was just like, that's a little too much for my personality. But then, 4 years later, I got on a plane and moved across the world.
Yeah.
So
That's what I wanted to ask. Like, what happened? What changed during those 4 years that you actually got on a plane and moved to Italy and basically, well, I'm guessing that sometimes you looked back, you probably wanted to return, but you stayed for
yeah,
7 seasons in Serie A and 8 seasons in Serie Two, Serie B. No,
yeah,
Serie A2, I think it's in basketball, right? A1
yeah,
and
yeah.
A2, like the numbers are different than in soccer. Yeah.
What happened was my faith ignited my junior year
Okay.
of college, and my life just radically transformed. And I became a dreamer like I had never before. And I remember I had a teammate that had graduated and went to play overseas, and I always had a passion for the Italian side of my DNA. Like when I was little, I was like always wearing Italian shirts. My passwords were like something to do with Italy. I just, for some reason, I was so drawn to that side of things. And I remember my junior year, I just prayed and I said, God, I really want to go to Italy. If it's in your plan for me to do that, I pray that you would open a door. And then my senior year, um, uh, agency approached my head coach, and she called me in the office one day and it was like, Ray, an agency approached us and said they'll represent you. They want to know if you would like to go play basketball in Italy. And I was like, oh, this is definitely God. So my sister, who graduated at the same time, who was 2 years older than me, but did a master's degree and did gymnastics at Central Michigan University, was like, Ray, I've been praying and I think I'm supposed to come with you. So we just got on the plane because we thought
Oh.
that God
That's
was doing
convenient.
something much
Yeah,
bigger
yeah,
than
yeah.
us. Yep. And
That you
she
weren't
came
alone. That's
and
awesome
we
that you
lived
weren't alone.
together for, oh, yeah, it was amazing. I had a great time. We had so much fun discovering our heritage, discovering ourselves, just understanding the culture. And she was with me for the first 3 years of my career here. And really, it was like having her here really gave me the strength, I think, to establish myself early on.
Okay. And what a career. I mean, we will get to the Olympics in a moment, but first I want to ask you about so as I said, you played 7 seasons in like the top tier division and 8 seasons in the lower division. And some people are hesitant to take a step back in order to move forward, but you're actually proof that these steps back are kind of helpful in developing your career and becoming a better basketball player. So can you tell us more about that, like sort of thought process that went into uh, deciding on playing on lower level teams in order to just become better and
Yeah,
eventually make the leap that you've made?
yeah. It was strategic.
Okay.
I actually was like, I went, my first team I was on was called Taranto. They had won like 7 national championships in a row, and they called me to come for a tryout, and I stayed there 2 months. And in the meantime, I was getting my Italian passport, but they had their foreigners already, so they sent me home. So then one door opened up in Salerno. So I went, and the year that I was playing there, I found out that my great grandfather was from Salerno. So it was like this whole destiny thing.
Wow.
And in that moment, like I said, my faith was really like coming into like flourishing. So I believe that I was supposed to stay there, even though I had opportunities to go play in the top league in Spain, or top league in Italy, but it wasn't a strategic like thing for my career. It was honestly all based on faith and just like believing that God was doing something, and in his timing he would align everything, because I had this dream to be on the national team as well. But I think for me it was important to wherever I thought he was leading to follow it, despite what I believed was the best thing for me. So I ended up in Salerno for 3 years, and it was just what I needed, I think, because I'm somebody that really is at their best when I'm connected to the people around me.
Hmm.
So I needed to learn the culture. I needed to learn the people. I needed to learn, in an environment that was not like so that was authentically Italian, and that's what Salerno was. I'd go to practice, and then I'd go to lunch with one of the girls, stay at her house all day with her mom and her grandma, and play cards,
Hmm.
and take the
Yeah.
nap, and get up and go back to practice and live, just emerge in the entire experience. And I really needed that, I think, to be able to create and develop passion for the people to be able to stay long term, I think, too.
Okay. So now you're the player who's like inviting others to come to your house, probably, right? Or not
In
really?
this moment
Yeah.
now,
At this moment, yeah.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. I love doing like team bonding activities, team nights. Very important to me, so
Okay.
that everybody kind of feels like they belong and like they're going to be cared for and well known off the court as well.
Hmm. And it's especially hard in like European pro basketball where the rotation of players is like constant, right? So every season there's like different players joining the team. Yeah. Okay, so I want to
Yeah.
also ask you about the Olympics, the 2020
Yeah.
Olympics, and your team makes it to the quarterfinals. You get eliminated by China, but still it's a large achievement, right? So what do you remember from that contest, that competition, and just the fact that you had the privilege to represent your country of choice on such a large
Yeah.
stage?
It was amazing. It was awesome. It was like being a kid all over again. When you're in the village, you're like living in the greatest neighborhood on earth for a week, 2 weeks. You're looking around, you see all these athletes that are the best in the world, and they're all in the same space, and everybody's doing it just because they love it. You like turn your head, you got Puerto Rico like throwing a baseball 90 miles an hour playing catch. And then turn your head and there's another guy, preparing, doing something, just working out. Then you go to the weight room and you see 30 athletes of different sports all preparing like their thing. And everybody is just so full of joy just because it's like already making it is such an achievement, and then being able to compete at the highest level on earth is just unbelievable.
Yeah. And just to finish off, I was able to dig out a quote from the year 2010 as a senior prior to graduating, because I forgot to ask you, graduated in sociology, right? Your
Yes,
major in
yep,
sociology. Okay, so that's kind of helpful, right?
yep,
In bonding and just
yes, for
understanding
sure.
people. Okay, okay. And
Absolutely, 100%.
yeah, okay. And the quote I was able to find was that what are your plans for the future? And you said, I want to play as long as I can, which I mean we can see that, right? Down the road, I want to have a big family, be happily married, and have the focus around God and my family. One of my dreams is to coach somewhere. So at what stage of that road are you at now? Are you already transitioning from playing to coaching? And what about like the family and just focusing around God? We've covered that. So maybe that I want to ask you about like the transition from player to coach. Are you already there? And what about the family part?
Yeah. So I think definitely like player to coach, I think that internally I'm becoming more of a coach. I play, especially like 3-on-3. Like someone has to take the leadership because there's not a physical coach in the game. And I work really well. I love working really well with the staff of whatever team I'm on. So my 5-on-5 team, me and my coach have a great relationship. We're always like bouncing ideas back and forth. Obviously, he's the authority. So what decision he makes, I come under that. Also with the 3-on-3 coach. But my dream is to make the LA Olympics and finish every at home. So like I'm not gonna slow down as an athlete until then. So I'm gonna see how it goes these next couple years, and then I think in the future, probably when the time is right, find that transition. And as far as a big family, well, I definitely have a big family. Like I said, I have 21 nieces and nephews. All my siblings, we all live like right around each other. Personally, I'm living my life as I'm just be me, walk in my destination. And I really believe at the right time, if it's the right thing, God will bring me a partner in life to experience everything that He has for me. And if that happens, I'm super happy. If that doesn't happen, I'm super happy because I believe that the life that I live, no matter what, is not dependent on like if I fulfill that desire or not. My
Okay.
greatest desire is to be connected to God and be connected to others. And I can do that in several different ways. So it is a desire I have, but not something that I force or like am like I have to find that. I'm more of a person that's like, be who you are and things will play out how they need to.
Okay, okay. And it's probably hard to keep up with you as well, with your high, because you're like a high energy player, probably high energy off the
Oh,
court
for
as
sure.
well. So good luck finding somebody who's able to just, be like that 24/7.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Okay.
think I need the right person. So I'm sure that person will show up, or I think I got all that I need.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. Okay, so thank you, Rae Lin, for finding the time, and good luck in your future endeavors at whatever stage of the road you will find yourself at, because it's such an awesome career. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you for this time.